Good morning and welcome to another broadcast with Invictus. I'm joined this morning by some beautiful women overseas, probably totally different time of day than where I'm at, but we're just starting out with a really beautiful morning here in Manitoba. And in Canada, we are actually celebrating Truth and Reconciliation Day, which is a new thing where we remember the Indigenous and particularly the lives that were lost during the time of the residential schools and those that were so impacted by that. So, we just want to make mention of that because we want to honor those memories of those people and honor the ones that still are with us, that are impacted. So many people have been impacted, and it's not just the Indigenous. There's so many culturally that have been impacted, but today we want to honor the Indigenous people in particular and what they have suffered through. So it's great to be here, and I love that I get to be joined by some incredible prophets. I'm not alone, thank God. Sometimes we can feel so alone, but when we get connected, we find our tribe. It's awesome. So as we're talking in the green room, there was some stuff that was coming out this morning that we're really excited to dive into, some fresh stuff that the Lord's been downloading in the night hours. Before we go there, though, I want to give Irene and Lora Beth each an opportunity to just say hello and just briefly share where they are from. So, Irene, why don't you start?
So I'm Irene. I'm French, but I live in the UK, and it's the afternoon today, and I'm still waiting for the sun to shine, but life is beautiful.
Awesome. Love that perspective. How about you, Lora Beth?
Yes, I'm American, but live in Ireland. So I'm like yourself, Erin. I'm waiting for the sun to show up in Ireland today. And I'm in the very south of the island, but I don't think that it would matter which part of the island you were on today. We don't have sun in Ireland, but sure, it is. It's great to be on with the both of you and to see the nations coming in like they are. And so, yeah, it's really nice to be here, Erin.
Yeah, this is awesome. I love how the Lord is connecting globally. It's just a beautiful thing. And I'm going to report as I look out the window, the sun is up. We've got blue skies. That is a very normal thing for Manitoba, but we're actually having an extended summer. Like we're into fall now here. Kids are back to school, but it's hot. Yesterday it was in the 30s. I think it was 28, but the humidex was 32. So I actually my daughter begged me, please, can we have the air conditioning on? So we went there and I caved in and closed up the windows just so we could sleep and make it through the nights. It's warm, but I love it. But I want to get into what the Lord is sharing, what he wants his people to know. And Lora Beth, when we were talking in the green room earlier, had shared that she was awoken with a fresh download from the Lord. And so I want you to lead the way this morning with what God gave you. And we're going to just share our hearts surrounding this fresh word that he's deposited in your spirit.
Thanks, Erin. Yeah, it's always so exciting when God wakes you up in the night. Sometimes I wonder if I need to actually repent. Does that mean he couldn't get my attention at some point in the day? But this word is really on his heart, and it's just stirring in me to give it out. He woke me up in the night, and this was what he said: stand up, get out. And he showed me a picture of a trench, and he said, many of my sons and daughters are down in the trenches when this is a season of threshold. I've not called them to be in the trenches, but I've called them to take a posture at the threshold. And this is the word that he gave me: remove yourself from the trenches. I, the Lord God, have brought you to the place of threshold, not to the miry trench. Today, take the new posture of standing outside the trenches and stand tall in my true, intimate presence of threshold. This is what you have asked me for. This is the place I have provided for you. But you'll never know it with mud on your face, distracted by the walls of the trench. Stand up, get out. Take your postured position at my threshold. And God just began to just show me a picture of different ones down in this place of the season that we're in a trench, when God is saying, but this is a place of threshold. This is not a place to be down in the trenches. The passage of scripture that I want to just encourage you with as you hear this word, it comes from the Mirror translation, which is new to me, but I love what 2 Corinthians 4:16 says. Listen to this: we have much reason to be brave. There might be a lot of wear and tear on the outside. How many of you feel like that sometimes? But don't be distracted by that. on the inside, we are celebrating daily revival. And, you know, in the monotony of what we've gone through in the last 18 months, in this unprecedented time, in this season, all of us at some point have said, yeah, I feel like I'm just working away in the trenches. But I really felt this invitation, Erin and Irene, that God was saying, come and stand up, get out, and come into this place of being at the threshold. This threshold, okay, we can use these words, especially in prophetic circles, and we can say that sounds really good, but what is God saying? He's saying, I've got you at the place of the crossing over into the new, into the breakthrough promises that I have for you. So this is a great word. God is saying, get out of that position where you're at. Take this postured position that I've called you to, because now is the time that you look to go forward in those stirrings of God's new that we can sense in this season. Amen.
Yeah, amen. That's really resonating where it's landing this morning. And it's such a direct word. Like, stand up, get out. God's not saying if you feel like it, when you feel like it. Like, he's saying, let's go. We've got places to go. And I know so many people are feeling stuck, or they're feeling it's safer. And we've been in a battle. We all feel it. And on so many different levels, it's been global for sure. We've all felt it through COVID, the isolation and everything. We've all individually been impacted on that level, but also the other stuff, the other chaos surrounding that, that's just going on, you know, the other circumstances on top of that. And for me personally, it's been a fight. It's been a fight sometimes to get that fight. And I'm a warrior by nature. That's just like, I just stand up and I fight, and I don't sit down and I don't retreat, and I want to advance. But sometimes when you're flat out, worn out, weary, you're tired, you're battle fatigued. And so what I sense, some of this coming over the threshold, is the new territory, is the invitation into the new. And I don't want to miss out on that. I want to cross over. But what was coming into my mind was where a bride and a groom, where he picks up his bride and carries her over the threshold into the new places. They start their new life together. And part of what I feel that you're releasing this morning is this invitation again of intimacy, to come away with me. It is a sense of warfare, because we do need to fight for our position and where God is taking us to advance. You don't get there by being passive at all. But in that is also this invitation to go deeper, to grow in intimacy. And what the Lord has been teaching me in this season is what warfare looks like. There's different postures, and we can pull scriptures out of the Bible, even where in Exodus, where it talks about, you don't need to fight. I've got this. You can rest. Well, it doesn't mean we get to sit back and kick up our feet and, you know, have a glass of wine and we just watch Jesus like do his thing. But there's still that partnership. But what does that position look like? What does that fighting look like on our end? Sometimes fighting the war is through rest, but it's not through inactivity. So I'm going to let Irene, you want to jump in with any thoughts? I see you agreeing there.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. I love this idea of the threshold, of like this idea that we're going to step into the new. And for me, God has been speaking to me a lot about heart surgery, about how, yes, it's been a season of intense battle, but actually this is not the time to retreat. This is not the time to stay in hiding. Like, we feel like we've been battered and bruised, and it would be more comfortable to stay in the trenches, as you were saying, Laura, Beth, but God is inviting us into another reality. And for me, he was speaking to me over the weekend specifically about how stepping into deeper intimacy with him and kind of finding ourselves back into him. And as we do that, finding our way back to who we are, who he created us to be, and finding our way back to God. But it has to come from that place of intimacy. And for that to be possible for some of us, that means kind of being ready for deep heart surgery. I've been seeing in the spirit how for some of us it might have looked like, you know, this past season was just, we had to harden ourselves and we had to just go through it and go in survival mode. I actually personally realized that the second lockdown was the one that killed me. The first one, I was kind of okay with it once the panic was all right. But the second one was the one where I felt like my resilience, I just went into survival mode. Even in I believe even in the way I listened to God and the way I was, posturing myself, I was more on okay, I just need to get ready for the next battle. But actually, God is inviting us to just be like, okay, the way to be ready for the next battle is to let me do the work into your heart now, so that you can actually stand. And one of my ultimate favorite verses in the Bible is the one in Ephesians about, where we put the armor of God. And I love that once we have put, the truth, the peace, and all the different elements, what God is asking us is to stand our ground. And that for me means it's not passive, but I get to stand on everything that has been built in that place of intimacy with God, in that place of going into the word, in that place of knowing who I am, knowing that I'm fighting from victory, and now I can stand and partner with God in my standing. So yeah, I believe that we're invited to just go this deeper and let God do deep work. And it's painful and it's uncomfortable, but actually I want to be ready for the new. So I'm not going into the new with my critters on. So I'm letting God doing the work.
Yeah, it really is a time of shedding the old and the dead weight and the things that don't serve us, so we can go into the new fully equipped, able to fully engage and cross over. Because you know what? The Lord wants us to be victorious. He wants to set us up for victory, right? Like he's our cheerleader, championing us on to do this. So, Laura, Beth, I'm going to let you respond to what's been talked about so far.
Yeah, I think that when you hear a word like this, stand up, get out, there can be, you hear the need for response. You hear God saying, I'm not asking this of you, I'm requiring this of you. And because of what we've gone through, there can be that response to recoil, to say, I'm not ready, I can't do this. And the insecurity and the fear can really begin to rise, and we can feel all of our insecurities. But just tapping on to, again, what Irene is saying there, it's in this place of intimacy that, when we look to do that in our own strength and our own might, yeah, guaranteed. I know I've been there, done that. I failed at that. However, when we come to this place of stepping out of the trench, and I really believe has to be an action by us, that our eyes are locked on Jesus. And in this place of intimacy and allowing him to do this work, even though it's uncomfortable, it's not pleasant, he is saying, this is what you are taking breath upon the earth for in this hour. This is your time. You don't want mud on your face. You don't want to be down in the mire of the trench when I have called you and purposed you to stand at this place of threshold. So how do we do that? How do we take a word like this and look to activate it and walk it out of our lives? And Irene's giving us that answer. She's saying it's in that place of allowing Jesus to do that work. And I'm just thinking, Irene, I did fine through the first isolation and the second isolation. I found the third one very daunting.
Oh yeah, I was talking about the third one rather. Sorry, it's the third one. The one around Christmas.
Yeah, so I found that one extremely daunting, and I found myself, and I live on my own, and so in that time, I just felt through the other isolations, I had been able to journey with Jesus, and it's like a wall. It's like I found myself in that place of the trench, and I was just like, just put it on autopilot and go through the motions. And this word today that God is giving us is really this invitation again to say, I'm not going to keep it on autopilot in the trenches. I want to step into that place. And everyone who's coming in on this broadcast, or if you're tuning in later, you come into a broadcast like this because you know there's more, that God is calling more, and there's something in this season that you haven't tapped into yet. And so really, I believe in that place of hitting the wall, there was only one place that I knew that Jesus was saying, this is it. It's intimacy with me. It's intimacy, meaning with Jesus. It's going to the places that even after all these years of journeying with Jesus and years in full-time ministry, none of that mattered. He was saying, there's some stuff in your heart, Lora Beth, that needs removal. And so it's in that place of surrender. When we surrender at the place of knowing I'm very safe here because I'm in the safety of Jesus. I've got my eyes locked on him. Yes, I'm coming out of, Erin, you spoke about, and maybe you want to just speak a little bit more about that, about how sometimes we can find comfort and safety, we think, in the walls of the trench.
Yeah, as you're talking, I'm just thinking about that. And what comes to mind is the Lord has often brought to me Lot's wife. When they had to leave and he was like, don't look back to former things. Like, don't look back to your past, right? That's where the comfort, that's where the safety is. And when God says go, he gives a direct word. It's always optional. We have our choice. That's the gift of free will. We get to choose to go or not. But I think in this season, there's been so much loss. We've all suffered loss on different levels, right? And so it's easy to look back and see, I've already lost so much. What is this going to cost me to keep going? And so we can be like Lot's wife and we can turn back and look and be like, I want to go back where it's comfortable, where it's predictable, where it's familiar, even though it may be very dysfunctional. It's what I know. But the Lord's saying, I love how you said, lock eyes with me, because we have to get to that resolve where it's you and me, Jesus, and nothing else. And like, I count the cost, but I don't. Because the cost of not being where you want me to be and not being connected to you is the greatest risk that I take if I'm not there, that like nothing else matters. And I have just had to get to that point in this season, because you said the word surrender, which to me is like such a key word, surrender. Like that's been the thing the Lord keeps leading me back to in my life, is surrender, surrender, surrender. And I'm like, God, I surrendered everything. Like, what else is there to surrender? Like, other than giving you my life and laying that on the altar, right? Like physically, it's like, what do you want? And so it's just doing life with him, saying you're more important than anything. And no matter what happens, I lock eyes with you. And we want to know where we're headed, but we don't get to know that information. We don't get to be comfortable in that, right? So it really is a season of trust. Do we trust him to bring us where he wants to take us? And that's why I said he wants us to succeed. This is not about sending us through the pits of hell to destroy us. Like, he wants to set us up for success. We're going to do battle with hell, absolutely. But I'm going to come out with ground gained, because I'm just not going to give up. I'm not going to retreat, and I'm going to keep going forward. And I told the enemy, I said, you mess with me, I'm going to become your worst nightmare. And I'm not only going to pioneer for my family and leave a legacy for generations to come, but I'm bringing people with me. So that's been my battle mission. And I feel like as we're joining forces this morning, this is in essence a little bit of a powwow happening on camera, where we're getting together and we're getting our battle strategy. We're like, hey, we're doing this. And everybody else who's listening and who's going to join, you can come with us too, right? We're going. So I really feel like directive that the Lord is saying, come, like now is the time. Because I mean, this isn't a new invitation per se. It's not like he just downloaded it last night and this is the new direction. He has been speaking this, but he is serious. And those that haven't been listening, he's saying it again. I don't want you to be left behind. So I'm releasing this word again. You can come, you can step in. Let's go. I have places to take you. So my exhortation this morning would be, get with the program and go. Step out. Like, don't worry about where you're headed. Just trust him. He's got good things of where he wants to take you. So, Irene, how do you respond to that? What are your thoughts?
Well, it feels to me like it ties in with the word I received on Sunday. So I'm going to put my glasses on to read it, because I'm that age now. But this is what I heard. This is an invitation from the Lord. And he's saying, come, my child, it's time to step into the deep. You may feel burnt and burdened, but come anyway. You may have lost yourself a little, but come anyway. Find your way back to me. Find your way back to yourself in me. Step into the deep where you can't see ahead, because my light will guide you. Follow my voice. Step into the deep with me. There is so much that I want to show you, so much that I want to reveal to you. There is so much more. Just come and step into the deep with me. Step into the fullness of my love and let it wash over you. Let it mend you and propel you. Come into the deep with me and stand.
Wow. I love that. I love that. And he's wanting all of us. And I don't mean like corporately, yes, but I mean individually, he wants every part of us. Like every part of us to step in, that nothing is withheld from him. And that's the beauty of this. Like he's wanting all of it. Yet there's still that hesitation to be tight-fisted and hold on to those things, right, that we still are not even always aware of in our hearts. But I love where God is calling us, like to the deep places again, which is unpredictable. You can't touch the water when you're in the deep, and it's sink or swim, baby. It's like I'm all in, or so again, what I see is that picture of like where a father is standing in the pool and he's trying to coax his young child to come in, right? Just daddy's gonna catch you, right? And that child is so fearful and so afraid because like, are you gonna follow through on your word? But what I want to say this morning is, as you've heard Irene and Lora, Beth give these invitations of what the Lord is saying, God is going to catch you. It doesn't matter where you go, he's going to catch you. He's going to make sure you don't fail at this. The only way you can fail is by choosing not to go all in and staying where it's comfortable and safe. But when you say, I'm invested in this, I'm going to go where it's uncomfortable, I can't afford not to go. Like there's no way you can't win this battle. And you're not doing it alone. You're in partnership with him. You're in partnership with other people. So Lora, Beth.
Yeah, I'm just like, as Irene gave that word out there, there was one line of it, I'm paraphrasing Irene, but it said, you do feel and show the signs of battle. You do feel that, you do sense that. And I go back to this passage of scripture in 2 Corinthians 4:16 from the Mirror translation. We have much reason to be brave. There might be a lot of wear and tear on the outside, but don't be distracted by that. On the inside, we are celebrating daily revival. And so when we hear that word daily revival, if you and I need to get past the wear and tear of what this season or possibly other seasons, we're showing the signs of that. Jesus is saying, don't mind that. Don't pay any attention to that. I'm giving you this invitation to come into this place of daily revival. And so especially in the Western church, we use that word revival. And I think we've overused it outside of its season, that it's lost its saltiness. But really, what is revival? It's coming into the presence of Jesus anytime, place, anywhere. It has nothing to do with a building. It has nothing to do with a nation. It has everything to do with Jesus doing that exchange, the great exchange with Jesus. I recently took up, back in June, I took up wild swimming, open swimming. Now, I grew up in Oklahoma where they would be having weather a lot like yourself today, Erin. It would be that warm back in Oklahoma. But I can assure you, there's only a handful of days that we had 30 degrees in Ireland. And open water, cold, wild swimming is very, very cold. But as I was swimming this week, and it's starting to get really cold, as I was swimming this week, I was just trying to catch my breath, get my surroundings. And I heard Jesus say, hello, I'm here. And I located Jesus, and here all the other swimmers are frigid. Everybody's trying to move. Everybody's trying to get their bearings. And there's Jesus just floating on the water going, this is great. And so, I really feel like that place of revival in 2 Corinthians 4:16, it's coming to this understanding that revival is on the table anytime, any place, anywhere. This invitation to come in and do life with Jesus in a way that we haven't experienced before. So, Irene, when you're talking about heart surgery, I really believe that Jesus is saying, I want to be in your stuff, but I'm not willing to get down in the trenches. I'm up here at threshold. Come up to this place with me. That Jesus wants to do the stuff with us. And he's saying, lock eyes on me. Let's do this, but I'm not coming to the trenches. I've called you to come up. Take on that new posture today. Take on that place that Jesus is saying, come on, daughter. Come on, son. Let's see Canada shift into the fullness of what God has called for that nation. Let's see France and England, Ireland and America. We're standing up and we're saying, I am his daughter, and I'm taking my place at the threshold. I'm not responsible for everyone's place, but I am responsible for mine. If Jesus isn't willing to get down in the trench, in that miry stuff, he's willing to pull me up. But it's up to me to say, I'm going to take my posture here in this place of allowing his revival in my life every single day.
Yeah, that's powerful. It's him wanting to reposition us. He doesn't want us to stay in the trenches. That's where we're staying. And he's saying, come up higher. I love that because he's calling us to be where he is. He doesn't want us to stay beneath. And so many are settling for the old, for the past, for what's comfortable, but the status quo. And the Lord is really challenging me in this moment of my life to not live status quo. Don't just be comfortable, couch warming Christian. And I don't know what the future looks like. I've been having dialogues with Rebecca, but just saying, I'm hungry for something. I don't even know if it exists on the earth yet, but I want more. I want more. I want more. And I know we're going to close in a few minutes here. One of the things I was just thinking, I think part of what it looks like to even the coming up higher, but the crossing into the threshold, we kind of painted a few different pictures of what that looks like. There is an invitation to do communion with the Lord. This part of reviving is through communion. And I went through a season a couple of years ago where I started to take communion on my own with the Lord. And it was weird because I've been a pastor for 20 years and I still was pastoring at that time. I had only ever done communion like in corporate settings. I think we'd done it once in our family, but I had never done it alone with the Lord. And I was like, why? Communion isn't just for like the Sunday morning when I'm in like a building with everybody together. It's like, this is an invitation for like what I could live every day. And so I've been hearing that stirring again and hearing it talked about in other places as well, that there is, I feel like there's a recall, a recall for coming into this season of personal, intimate communion with the Lord. And, we weren't even able to do that when churches were locked down and we couldn't even attend like corporately, right? So we have to invent new ways to build intimacy. But what I want to say is I know for myself personally, this season of growth where I haven't been engaged in the corporate church because we haven't been able to meet as a body, like together, hand in hand, face to face that way. My spiritual life has grown so much. I feel closer to God than I ever have. And that is by choice, right? So we can't be dependent on what the structure and what the framework of the world is offering, dictating, you can meet here, you can go there. That's not what causes me to grow, right? It's locking eyes with Jesus. It's coming up higher to be where he says to be. I want to be where he is. Like when you want to grow in a relationship with somebody that's intimate, it doesn't work very well when you're not ever around them. You need to be where they are. You want to feel their arms around you. And so I really feel like this thing of coming up higher is this coming up into a new level of intimacy with the Lord, where he's breathing into us his freshness and reviving us and giving us what we need for this next season. I feel like some of us disqualify ourselves because we're so tired. We're so worn out. We've lost so much. And we're not giving ourselves an opportunity to even come before the Lord to let him show what he can give us. We're so fearful of what we've lost, right? But there's so much more. I don't even think we've even begun to tap into what he has next. And so I don't want to disqualify myself that way. There's a question earlier that I just read, it's something to the effect of, he keeps saying where, but what's the how? And I believe the how is just through the choice. We don't always know the execution of what that looks like, but when God gives a directive like this, come higher, stand up, get out of the trenches, what's the first response? It has to be yes. We're not going to go anywhere unless we give our full surrender to saying, I'm on board with this. I'm going to go. We got to close in a couple minutes, but do you have anything else to add to that, Lora, Beth, or Irene? Is there more instruction you would add to the how? We've talked about the heart surgery needing to be done, but would you give any other directive on how people can respond?
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead, Irene. Go ahead.
Sorry. Very practically, I really like this idea of starting by taking communion, because it's a place of, communion is communing with Jesus. It's the it's the most intimate act that we can do to just remember Jesus. And so I would start very practically with communion, with taking times just to sit down and listen. Actually, not even sit down and listen, just sit down and be, and be with Jesus. And then in that place of being fully you and being fully known by God, then you're in a place where you can actually hear the invitation and respond to the invitation. And yeah, so that would be my advice for the how: communion and just be with God.
Yeah, I think great start point. I mean, like last night, I came in from a long day. I'd had a meeting, and I just really felt this call in my heart to end my day with communion. And so I sat down, and I received this gift of a new Bible, the Mirror translation, only yesterday. And so I was like, okay, the very first thing that I'm going to do with this new Bible is to take communion and to read it in a different translation. It's just absolutely so beautiful. But when I think about, I'm going into like 25 years of full-time ministry, and all of those have been on the foreign field outside of a couple that were in the US. And so many times I've wanted plan A to Z before I was willing to take a step. And I've seen this pattern happen again and again when God has called me to do something new. I'm always, yes, you have my yes, God, but what about the how, when, why, and where? And, that's when it does come down to faith. Whoever asked that question, start moving, participate in the process, and start taking a step. And, I know that I get asked this often, but what if I get it wrong? This is God. This is Jesus that we're talking about. If you get it wrong, and I have got it wrong more times than I can count, he's well able to get me back into that place of alignment. But what he does need is for me to move outside of the trench. And maybe that is, reaching out to someone that you've been putting it on the long finger that you haven't reached out to yet. Maybe it is signing up for a course that God has called you to sign up for that course. Maybe it is restructuring when you feel like your worship time has to be, and think, how is that going to work? Move. And if it's not right, Jesus is well able to get it into that place of alignment. So really today, I feel, Erin, that God is calling all of us. Jesus is inviting us, make a move, daughters, get moving, sons. This is our now time, all hands on deck. He needs all of us in that place, and he's asking us to move. It's a really exciting invitation that Jesus is extending to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've just heard it. Like, there's nothing else to add to this today. This is the word of the Lord. And so in closing, I just say, come on, join us, guys. We're moving places. Be part of what's advancing. Move forward. Say no to the spirit of fear. Don't let that stop you and keep you stuck in those trenches, right? It is a glorious journey. We're moving from glory to glory. It is scary being in the unknown, but I would rather be in the unknown where I can't see, knowing I'm holding Jesus' hand, than staying stuck where I'm not with him anymore, because he's moved on and I didn't go where he was. So we're going to end there. But ladies, it was so wonderful to just have this discussion today. And thank you everybody for joining. For those that are going to see the replay, I know there's been a lot of comments. So you've heard the battle cry. You've heard the invitation of the Lord. The choice is yours now. But we extend that invitation to you to give the Lord your wholehearted yes. So, all right. Have a great day, everybody. What's left of it overseas, and for us just starting out, we're going to enjoy our beautiful sun. So have a great time. We're going to end it.
Bye.
Bye.
God bless you.